So in this business, the more we can go back to our fundamentals, go back to the true numbers, we can make more rational decisions. I created my processes and my systems in my business for a reason. Take your time when you're growing your team. Take your time when you're hiring people. And I'm gonna go over with you guys today the 3 biggest mistakes, and not even biggest mistakes, but biggest lessons in my career in real estate. Hey everybody, I'm Tarl Yarber with Fixated Real Estate, and I've done over 600 real estate investment transactions, almost all exclusively fix and flip. Since 2010, I've done over 600 investment deals, mostly fix and flip. I like to consider myself a recovering house flipper, but if you've been kicking butt for a few years, or if you've been crushing it for quite a few years, these lessons you're either going to relate to or you're going to meet these lessons sooner or later. First, let's talk about number one. Number one, short-term thinking. I've spent a lot of my career in the fix and flip and wholesale real estate business. Wholesaling is where you take a property, you tie it up under contract, and then you sell the contract or assign it to another investor like myself, which I'll still buy those if you guys got them. But most of that time period, I've been thinking short-term, 3 months, 6 months, maybe 8 months, but I'm not usually even thinking over a year. Why? Fix and flip has been great at helping me make lots of money, lots of income. It has not been great at building wealth. Now, hindsight is 20/20 in this business, and in today's market with some shifts in the economy, some upswing in interest rates, some changes in what might be happening in the real estate markets themselves, we have to change our thinking. If we're not changing it today, we're going to regret not changing it later. So for me personally, I've worked very hard on shifting my thinking to more of a long-term mentality. Now let me show you the power of long-term investing. And one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in this business by thinking only short-term, if you can guess it as a house flipper, is flipping a bunch of houses. That's right. Even though I've made money doing it, I wish I kept almost all the deals that I flipped. And I'm going to show you guys one right now. This one was a big lesson for me. Take a look at it. It's not that pretty on the outside, but when we were done with it, it turned out kind of cute, right? This was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Seattle, Washington that in 2014, the end of 2014, I purchased, put a bunch of money into it with a partner, and then after we were done with it, we of course flipped it. Now, when we flipped this house, we thought that it would sell for maybe $300,000. I've just said, this is a house in Seattle, Washington. And when we flipped it, we ended up selling it in 2015. We thought we would get $300,000. Now, instead, when we sold this house, we sold it for $369,000 in 2015. We were blown away. We couldn't believe somebody would be so dumb to buy this house for $369,000 in the area of Seattle, Washington that this was in. This was a record-breaking price point for that entire neighborhood and almost the entire, well, this is West Seattle, West Seattle neighborhood that this house was in. $369,000, if you can believe that. Now, hindsight's 20/20, right? So what do you guys guess? What can you guess what this house might be worth today? Well, I looked it up. And if you pull up the Google machine, right now, this house is being told on a special website that gives you property values that this house is worth almost $800,000 today. Now, the same owners, the same smart owners that bought this in early 2015 from me still own it. They haven't sold it yet. But if they've kept this, now if I would have kept this as a rental, that doesn't include what my costs were. So even though we sold it for $369,000, I want you guys to know something. I bought this for $165,000 in 2014. Now we put $88,000 into it in the rehab, which was a lot of money back in 2014. That's a heavy rehab. The thing didn't have a basement. We had to finish it all out, make it nice, everything. There's a lot of work that went into this project for sure. But we bought it for $165,000. We put $88,000 into it. And after all costs and holding costs, we owed $260,000 on this 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Now, do you think I could rent this property out back in 2015 and still cash flowed? Yes, I could have. Rates were a little bit higher for sure, right, than it was just last year. But they definitely weren't any higher or they were definitely higher than they are today when interest rates are in the 5s and 6s for some investors. We could have still gotten an interest rate loan back in 2014, 2015 for probably about a 6+% rate of return. But if we would have kept this property, I think we could have bird it, refinanced it, got all our money out, held on to it since 2015, only owed $260 on it. It'd be worth almost $800,000 now, and that doesn't even include all the depreciation, principal buy down, and included all the cash flow that we could have made as rents increased over the years. Now, this is just one of the many, many stories that I have when it comes to thinking short term. Now, it's very easy to say that as a house flipper that like, well, you got to flip houses. That's what you do. Absolutely. But it's not just about flipping houses, because I still do it. It's about my mentality that I had throughout my career of I never even considered keeping this house. I never even considered keeping any of my houses until a couple years ago, because I didn't really think more than income. I was thinking income, not wealth. So shift your thinking today, because in today's market, long-term thinking is going to win out over short-term thinking. Remember that, long-term thinking. Why are the large hedge funds out there buying properties today? They're thinking 10, 15 years out, while as the local wholesaler or agent is doing everything they can to sell it to a fund, and they're thinking short-term. Who's smarter in that equation? And let's figure that out for ourselves. Now, let's jump into number two. Number two, biggest mistake and biggest lesson in my entire career has been emotional decision making. Some of the worst things that have happened to me in my entire career have been due to me thinking irrationally due to heightened emotions. Now, it's very hard in this business to not get emotionally wrapped into a transaction, a real estate deal, because your money is involved in it, or other people's money is involved in it, whether it's your family, friends, business associates, whatever. Sometimes we have other people's monies involved into the deal, and we sometimes are dealing with other people that we might be close to, and emotions can get strung out. You hear a lot of people talk in business that you got to keep your business separate from your emotions, but it's almost impossible to do for most of us in this industry. Real estate brings something out in people. The physical house, the physicality of having property and be able to see it, touch it, smell it, whatever, taste it even. That's gross, but especially some of the houses we buy. But that said, like for whatever reason, no matter how much we know not to be emotionally involved in these transactions and deals, it takes a very special person or somebody that's been beat up enough to realize that the emotion needs to come out. Now, one of my worst transactions that I ever did was this house right here. This house was in Portland, Oregon. I used to invest in multiple states. And this house here in Milwaukee, Oregon, just outside of Portland, was the very first house that I lost the most amount of money on. And there was nothing about this transaction that was non-emotional. It was the only property that I've ever done that almost every step of the way, I was making emotional decisions versus rational business decisions. This was not my first property, ladies and gentlemen. This property got sold in 2018. I'd already done over 500 freaking deals by then, and you'd think I'd figured it out. How much did I lose on this deal? Can you guys guess? I still get pissed off when I think about it. It was one of my best tax write-offs I've ever had. $86,000. I lost $86,000 on this one house. Now, how did that happen? Well, let me explain. So I've already done a whole bunch of deals in 2017 when I bought this house. It sold in 2018. Early 2017, I'd already done a whole bunch of deals, and I was expanding back out in my different markets. I was in Portland. I was doing a bunch of properties there, here and there, while I was also investing in Tacoma and Seattle and the surrounding areas of the Pacific Northwest. And we thought, hey, we're so good at what we do, let's go ahead and team up with some other people in certain markets and test out a theory that we're going to start training wholesalers to be able to market using our marketing, and then we'll get the deal. So we're going to train you to go work in a certain market, wholesale, all that kind of stuff. We're going to prove that we can make your phone ring, and in return, we get first dibs on the deal, and we split the profits and so forth when we buy it as a wholesale, and then we keep it in-house as a property. Now, me and my buddy at the time were doing this with some people down in Portland. I was very much invested into it, but my ego got so far into this transaction, I wanted to prove that this concept worked for us. So we partnered up with a local wholesaler. The deal came through. I was so frustrated with the situation and what was happening with that wholesaler that through the negotiations and the deal itself, I was telling them bad advice on how to close the deal because I wanted this property to actually happen so badly. I overlooked a lot of the actual true fundamental numbers of this transaction. I bought it for too much. I didn't analyze the rehab close enough. I wanted it to work. I got so vested emotionally and egotistically into proving that our concept worked that I bought a bad deal. Now, I can live with that. I've bought bad deals before, but I'm good enough and I'm rational enough that once I buy a deal, we can figure it out, deal with what is, and move forward. Wrong. That's what I think I can do until I got into this deal and I had a big major spat with the wholesaler that was there, and I completely overlooked so many issues after we removed the person from the transaction that I wanted to prove to everybody that I can do this house myself. For whatever reason, I didn't involve my team. I didn't involve the right experts. I made decisions from afar. I made decisions emotionally. And what ended up happening was a project that was supposed to cost about $50,000 in rehab, cost $110,000 in rehab. A property that was supposed to take 4 to 5 months to finish took nearly 18 months for us to finish. And it was a nightmare every step of the way. So bad that in 2017, I drove down to this property from Seattle and brought my project manager with me, and we physically worked on the house. I had almost 20 other projects going on. I had large rehab projects going on, yet I decided, for whatever reason, the smartest thing for me to do was to get in a van, drive down to this house, and physically work on it myself, even though I was also running my events company, and we were running the largest expo in the Pacific Northwest at that time. I still thought it was a smart decision for me to work on this house physically. Now, why was all of that? Two big things: emotions and my ego. So ego is the enemy, ladies and gentlemen, that's for sure. So in this business, the more we can go back to our fundamentals, go back to the true numbers, see what actually is on what's happening on these properties and dealing with what is, not with what isn't, and not shooting all over ourselves, we can make more rational decisions. Big takeaway for this one for me was it doesn't matter how good I am, I'm still fallible for my emotions and my ego, and I need to remember that every step of the way. I created my processes and my systems in my business for a reason. I need to follow them, just like everybody else on my team. All right. I hate talking about that house. I don't even want to show that picture ever to anybody. Let's put that, oh, look at that stupid ass house. All right. Hate that house. Ugh, it lost a lot of money, but I learned a lot of big lessons on that transaction. And I don't even want to say I'm thankful for it because I'm not. I wish I didn't do it, but maybe my emotions are getting in the way still. All right, the third biggest lesson and biggest mistake in my entire career that I am very conscious about since one of my largest mistakes in my entire career, and that is hiring fast and firing slowly. That's right, hiring too fast and firing too slowly. This is a personnel issue. This isn't just employees. This isn't just people that are working on your team. This has to do with anybody that you're transacting with in the real estate investment world or business world in that matter. You'll hear people say, an adage saying, hire slowly, fire fast. Well, the opposite of that, which most of us kind of do, is hire fast, fire slowly. You've never heard anybody say, man, I wish I fired that person slower, right? Nobody's ever said that. Nobody's like, man, I wish I took my time firing that person. Most of us are like, man, I should have fired that person sooner when there's an issue that comes up. Now, how does this happen in the real estate business? A very simple way that most of us, especially in house flipping, make this mistake on is we hire contractors too soon, or we jump into projects so fast. We get whoever's available and whoever's cheapest to get on the deal as fast as possible. But as soon as stuff starts to happen on a deal that might go sideways, maybe because of laziness, lack of skill, I don't know, we maybe hold on to that contractor, we hold on to that person a little too long, and we think that they're going to get a little bit better. It's going to get better. They'll make it up. Maybe because we don't want to deal with the ramifications of letting somebody go, because then we got to go back and find somebody new. So I've never hired a contractor that eventually became issues for us that I wish I fired slower. There's been plenty of contractors I've hired over the years in my business that, due to our own volume, laziness, whatever, they've messed up our transactions because we've held on to them too long. Too many red flags show up, and instead of letting them go sooner, cutting bait, cutting our losses, we instead expanded the problems and expanded the issues by holding on to the wrong person for too long. Now, I'm throwing contractors on the bus. That's not what I really want to talk about on this one. I have a lot of amazing contractors that work with us and have worked with us over the years for various reasons. We love many of these, and some people grow so big they do their own businesses. Some people stay with us for a long time. So not all contractors are bad. I don't want to throw that. Most are very good. But what I'm more talking about is my number one mistake as far as hiring people. We had a project manager that back in 2017, early 2017, that I hired very quickly. Now, why? See step number 2, which is emotional decision. This was somebody that I'd known for years, was a general contractor of mine for many years on many, many projects of ours. I had a great relationship with the person, and I needed to hire a project manager, but I didn't know who I wanted it to be. He hit me up out of nowhere and said, hey, I want to work with your company as a project manager. I hired the person the very next day, brought him on board, and because I wanted somebody at his skill level, never interviewed him, never worked out all the things with him, never made sure that the person was on board with our processes and our systems for our business. I hired him because I reacted quickly because I had a role to fill, and here was somebody breathing right in front of me that said, I want the job and I got the skill. Didn't interview him. Didn't think about it, didn't make sure they're a good fit for the team, didn't make sure the culture was going to be there, didn't make sure that they can actually fit into our processes to begin with, that they knew how to work with investors internally, that they've even done project management for other people other than themselves. Never went through any of that stuff. Instead, I said yes. And that turned out to be my number one worst hire that I've ever had in my entire career. Why? Well, I didn't fire him fast enough. That's why. I kept thinking things were going to get better. I kept thinking that they'll process it through. I don't yell. I don't scream. But yet I'd be in meetings with my team yelling and screaming between me and this project manager back and forth. That should have been a red flag day one when I'm yelling at somebody and they're yelling at me back. Yet I held on to this person for almost 8 months, when after month 3, we should have probably let them go. What did that lead to? Because of me putting my head in the sand, not letting go of the person soon enough, because I figured, hey, at least somebody in that position is better than nobody in that position. Wrong. I was over budget on almost every project, over schedule on almost every single project. We lost hundreds of thousands of dollars that year due to me not letting go of somebody soon enough because I didn't want to deal with hiring somebody else. And I didn't want to deal with having to take over their workload. I thought them doing 50% of the job is better than nobody doing any of the job. And I was very, very wrong on that. I wish I fired people sooner. So what is that lesson to you? A lesson to me. Take your time when you're growing your team. Take your time when you're hiring people, whether they're contractors, realtors, lenders, people that you're reaching out to, wholesalers, whoever it is. If they're coming on board and they're going to affect your business, figure out, hey, who do I really want to partner with as a partner in a business? Who do I really want to partner with as a lender? Who do I really want to partner with my realtor? Who do I want to partner with as a contractor? What's my ideal person look like if I'm hiring them? Who are those people and what are their skills? What are they good at? Do they fit my culture? What is my culture? And then go find that person. And when you find them, take your time to make sure they are the right person for you and your team, or just yourself. And then if push comes to the shove, what are your 3 non-negotiables that the person can't do or messes something up that they're just gone, that you can't recover from? And at that point, you got to ask yourself, is now the time to let this person go or not? Or maybe I'm a bad leader and I haven't given them the opportunity to be trained effectively enough. I want to end on that note that, remember, at the end of all these 3 mistakes, there's only one person that's common in all 3 mistakes, and that's me. So I'm the one with short-term thinking. I'm the one that made my emotional decisions, and I'm the one that hired that project manager to begin with and all the other contractors that worked on my jobs. And if somebody else hired my contractors for me, I'm hired the person that hires the contractors for me. At the end of the day, the buck stops with me. And if I fail at this business, it's my fault and nobody else's. But if I succeed, it's my fault too. So don't push that off. Now, last but not least, I'm Tarl, Yarber, Fixated Real Estate. Make sure you guys comment, like, subscribe to this video. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, I'm very interested in them. Please put them in the comments below. But for the most part, this looks like a nice, clean little house. And this, okay, maybe we're not gonna be able to negotiate too much on this. Is the exact same house. This is what was inside the house. So, don't judge a book by its cover. When we roll up on a project, there's some big exterior red flags that we're looking for right away.